Is this the future of gun security? It's a high-tech revolving door, and it's a security system all in one, trying to get into keeping guys with guns from getting into malls and schools and theaters.
That company's managing director, Robert Osan, he joins us now. We saw a little video today. We saw a little thing you put together, computer graphic. Sir, tell us how it would work. Explain it to us how it's working while we play it next to you. Go ahead.
Well, the thing to notice about it is you can see into the mechanism because we've taken the covers off for the animation. So these would be covered so that weapons could not be passed between two attackers. That's an important thing.
Okay.
And secondly, the portals in the video are all running at the same speed, and it would work differently in reality. These know exactly where each person is. Each portal unit is robotic. It would track the pace of the person as they walk through. If they go quickly, it would move quickly. If they walk slowly, it would move slowly. And then at one point in the middle of the cycle, if there's a weapon, it'll be detected by at least a metal detector.
Okay.
The portal would stop, give a message to reverse direction. The person will be backed out of the portal.
Oh, that's cool. So as the person is enclosed, it's a scan, and so it would back the person out, or would it trap them inside between the two walls?
With anything like this, you'll occasionally have a false alarm. You don't want to trap people in anything, so you would reverse them out. The main thing is keep the weapon out of the building.
Sir, here, for practical purposes, a lot of I can
see. Gotcha.
Well, it's an interesting idea, and I know your next step is to build a prototype. Right now you're looking for partners to help you there at Barbican. Robert Bosan joins us today from Seattle. Thank you very much. Provocative idea. Okay. Robert Bosan joins us today from Seattle. Thank you very much. Provocative idea.
So it's hello everyone. Welcome back to GGN. This is part 4, the final part for today, for Tuesday, February 19th, 2013. I'm Darko. Sorry about the audio. I don't know why it keeps doing that looping at the end. But for whatever it's worth, I'm just glad I can upload and I can make these videos. So, international banking cartels advancing imperial agenda. So, this is how slaves are treated, right? And something like this. That's what you have for like cattle and stuff like that. And we're just talking about the economy in the last video, and we'll continue with that. It says, analysis says the international banking cartel headed by private central banks such as the European Central Bank and the Federal Reserve are advancing their imperial agenda and trying to shackle people into debt slavery. Well, they already have them. They're not trying. It says here, it's not about bringing people up to speed. It's about shackling them into debt slavery. It's not about helping them in any way. And the same international banking cartel, they have doomsday seed vaults. They control the media, which censors truth-telling organizations like Press TV, and they fill people's minds full of nonsense, and they point nuclear weapons at every nation on the earth in order to just leverage their will. That's basically how geopolitics in the world today operates. Of course, again, we're talking about the usury system, and this article kind of comes into play, and then we'll get back to the term slavery, or the theme slavery, debt slavery. Eutelsat's Zionist boss continues war on media freedom. So most of you know I've been covering this about their satellites being pulled, Iran that is. European satellite provider Eutelsat, owned by the Zionist Michael DeRozan, has ordered Nilesat to pull the plug on Iran's English language news channel, part of his war on freedom of speech. So we hereby request, again, you discontinue the broadcast of these IRIB channels with 48 hours of your receipt of this letter. Wow, within 48 hours. So we were talking about debt slavery, right? Mississippi finally okays 13th Amendment banning slavery. So 148 years after it cleared Congress, they officially ratified a 13th Amendment to the Constitution. A mere 148 years after the amendment outlawing slavery cleared Congress and was sent to the state legislature for approval. It says the oversight was cleared up after a doctor saw the movie Lincoln and did some research into when different states had ratified the slavery ban. But before we continue, I just thought I'd throw this in there because I've been wanting to get to this article. It'll tie in perfectly. This is when I wanted to get to it, February 6th of this year. Another big lie in Spielberg Lincoln movie. So this is from the Lou Rockwell blog, LRC blog. I've written of how the theme of Steven Spielberg's movie Lincoln, that Abe used to be his political genius to get the 13th Amendment through Congress, is one big lie. I quoted David Donald, the preeminent mainstream Lincoln scholar of our time, is writing in his biography of Lincoln that Abe barely lifted a finger in the effort, In fact, he literally refused to assist the abolitionists in Congress when they requested his help. Even worse, Lincoln did work mightily to get the first 13th Amendment passed in 1861, the Corwin Amendment, that would have prohibited the federal government from ever interfering with Southern slavery. Another gross historical inaccuracy in the Lincoln movie that brought to my attention is that the scene that said that Connecticut congressmen voted against the 13th Amendment. Congressman Joe Courtney of Connecticut saw the movie and smelled a rat, so he asked the Congressional Research Service to look into it. They informed him that all 4 members of Congress from Connecticut voted yes. So, in other words, the votes were already there. There was no need for Abe to use his political genius to persuade them, as argued by Doris Kearns Goodwin, Spielberg's historical advisor, in her book upon which the movie is based. On that note, there's a new update for it. This article or this situation. Surprise, Spielberg's Lincoln screenwriter is an angry, blabbering left-wing nut. Says Steven Spielberg's screenwriter Tony Kushner declares that Obama is Lincolnian and has made amazing progress in the fight against psychotic individualism, aka respect for individuals, and all this trickle-down nonsense, aka freedom, and has happily rejected the frightening Reagan era of ideology. So he says, well said, Comrade Kushner. So we're talking about this. Mississippi finally okays 13th Amendment banning slavery. So this is to kind of insinuate that we're actually free, right? That we're not debt slaves. Okay, this article right here from Spiegel, land grabbing, foreign investors buy up third world farmland. So they're buying or leasing vast amounts of farmland in third world countries to profit from surging demands for food crops as a result of rapid population growth and, of course, rapid speculation, right? Land grabbing amounts to a new form of colonialism that often runs counter to interests of locals. So no shit, right? The Dutch are asking the question, should older workers earn less, as French company asked them to accept pay cuts? French multinationals suggested in the Netherlands to ask older workers to accept pay cuts as a cost-cutting measure has touched a raw nerve as the Dutch economy faces a slowdown and rising unemployment. So got the same type ideas being mauled over in the UK, like I said, where you have to, pensioners as they call them, people that are retired, they have to work for their pensions still. So it says here, 4 commit suicide in Spain over evictions as EU struggles with unemployment from the 14th of February. A 46-year-old man killed himself in Spain over the threat of being evicted from his house. It was the 4th case this week in Spain of a suicide committed over an eviction. A friend of the deceased told a Spanish news agency, Europa Press, that people who knew him expected him to do so, as the man had warned many times he would commit suicide if evicted. So it says here the man had 2 daughters and came from Barcelona, where his family currently lives. Spanish woman sets self afire at bank. This is from the 19th, so it just happened. A Spanish woman has set herself on fire at a bank in the eastern city after losing her home to the bank over unpaid loans. So 47 doused herself with flammable liquid and set herself on fire after entering the bank on Monday. They managed to save the woman and put out the flames, so she was then transferred to by helicopter to the hospital. So are people really free? You know? Rahm Emanuel in 2016, and that was the thing. That was the whole thing with the Civil War. I mentioned this before. Was that kind of the underlying theme? Was that as far as the powers that be, the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, all these interests. They had the Civil War carry out, and it expanded America. That's when you had the two going after each other and wiping out Indians while they were expanding west, kind of like as a distraction tactic to expand west was the Civil War. But the Civil War was also in itself like a psyop, because it made people think that they were all free now, that they were all equal when they weren't. They were anything but equal, and they were anything but free. They just went from becoming indentured servants or slaves, because people always think of blacks as being the only slaves. There was a lot of white Europeans that were slaves and indentured servants. And, you know, when they said they're ending slavery, they weren't talking about debt slavery. So that was a conversion from physical slavery, where you can see where you're wearing the chains, like David Icke usually uses that analogy. Now you don't have that ball and chain on you. You're not a, quote, slave. Well, you are still. You're a debt slave. At least most people are. If you're not, then God bless you. I mean, that's the environment that they've set up. And they have people like this who manage it, who have dual citizenship, who are Zionists and stuff. And it says here, Rahm Emanuel in 2016, Daily Beast says he's been talking to donors. So the political rumor of the day from the 15th of February is Rahm Emanuel might run for president in 2016. So I would definitely not be surprised if he ran, because he's in charge of the mega region right now known as the Great Lakes for the mayor city of Chicago, which I'm here for a short period is a shithole, and I hate it. Can't wait to go and leave. So it says here, Ron Paul supporters, Rand Paul might have already started his 2016 presidential run. So Rand Paul, like I said, again, big Zionist. He's already made the statements all in the recent past. He's visited Israel, so we all know what he is, what he represents. Then I just thought about something just in the past week that I never thought about, which is pretty obvious, which is Ron Paul was never meant to win. Ron Paul was there to build up a base of young voters who were pissed off and mobilized, and he could actually scoop up all those voters and all those grassrooters, as they say, supporters. So, man, they're good. They are really good. Like I said, they know what the opposition wants. They know what people are pissed off about, and then they'll give them what they want to hear. And then people, when they get screwed over, they say, well, what happened? He didn't fulfill his promises. It's like, well, what are you going to do, you know? It's not like in the olden days where you knew who was in charge. You had a king or you had whatever, and you can go and you can just sack them, dude, and you hang them, whatever. And it's over with. You at least start, and maybe you'll have 7 years or at least your life's worth, as long as you're willing to fight for your freedom. You'll have it, right, for 7 years or a decade or whatever, a generation, but then it'll go away. If the young people they don't know what it is, they're not used to having to fight for it. And that's where we're living in right now. People have been so distracted with all these creature comforts and cheap crap goods from overseas to basically mask their standard of living being lowered. So, you know, it's going to come, right? Harvard law professor. So this Alan Dershowitz says leading candidate for papacy is an anti-Semite. So, of course, Dershowitz is probably a Jew. Harvard law professor says this Cardinal Oscar Andres Rodriguez of Honduras blamed the Jews for scandals surrounding Catholic sex abuse and compared Jewish-controlled media with Hitler. So it's pretty interesting. So this guy's actually blaming Jews for the scandals surrounding the sexual misconduct of priests. So I don't know what that means, but it goes on and says he's arguing that the Jews got even with the Catholic Church for its anti-Israel positions by arranging for the media, which of course he said they controlled. So this is just like Hegel right now, who's having to deal with all that crap. Romania bust Israeli human egg trafficking ring. So we already know about organ. Israel's a big organ trafficking country. It says here, Romanian police on Tuesday busted a human egg trafficking ring involving Israeli specialists in assisted reproduction just months after several Israeli doctors were sentenced in a similar case. Moving on here, designing life. Should babies be genetically engineered? So this is what the new slaves will be like, right? So you can go in there and check it out. I'm going to keep moving for time's sake, but I've already covered this before in an article titled Handmade Babies to Save the Planet in the Name of Climate Change. Designer babies to make them shorter, to make them not eat meat. And of course, what desirable traits are desirable to who? To the elites, to the controllers, to the engineers, so that you be passive, like how they drug the water. I just covered an article about how fish are easier to catch now because of all the drugs and antidepressants in the water. They've become more relaxed, and they don't travel with the herds anymore, and they're off by themselves, and they get killed. They get caught easier. But of course, the article didn't say anything about humans. Oh, what would it do to humans? No, it's just the fish. So just like chemtrails, when they did research on it, it just had to do with lower aquatic life, not humans. Brighton Council to open gender-neutral public toilets as it phases out male and female lavatories. This is not a big deal. If there's an empty female washroom, I'll use it. My only deal is that they're pushing this androgynous agenda. They're feminizing men and they're emasculating women. That's why. Texas parents, okay, we won't make daughter get abortion. After being slapped with a lawsuit, a pair of Texas parents have agreed in court that they won't demand that their 16-year-old daughter have an abortion. So, says now the girl and boyfriend plan to get married. Says the girl is old enough for legal marriage with parental consent in Texas. CIA serves as corporate sponsor for National LGBT Conference. Figure that. And talk about the CIA's efforts to become an employer of choice for the LGBT community. So the CIA participated in this event as part of a nationwide outreach to diverse communities with mission-critical talent. Then you have GOP building coalition of the old on gay issues. So it goes on here and it says that the GOP is what? They said they need to compete in the modern world. Catholicism needs a turnaround artist, lacking modernization. Physics professor gets his students' attention by stripping. In order to get into this museum exhibit, you have to be nude. Thank you.